So this is the sort, not perfect, I'll not go as far to say this is perfect, but this is certainly reflects best practice on writing a holistic statement. Okay, so let's read this one from the top. So they've got personal reflective statement, and they've given this a title, this particular statement. So it said producing a presentation on the customer service award. So they've said that that's the title of the task they're doing. That's not something that's come from the unit guide. That's the task that they're performing, and they're writing a statement on that. So that person's checked out. They've checked out that unit guide for presentation software, and appreciate that you might not necessarily be doing this unit, but this is just an example of a unit to give you an idea of what the evidence should look like and how to structure the evidence. You might be doing a different award, you might be doing different units, but the principles, the techniques that I'm explaining applies to all units. So they've given it a title, that's what they do. They've got their unit guide, they've read through it, they said, okay, I use presentation software when I had to produce this PowerPoint presentation on the Customer Service Award. So let me write a statement, forget about the unit, write a statement on that time in the workplace I was asked to do it. So what happened? So on the 5th of March, I was asked by the Programme Delivery Manager, Steve Rogers, to produce a presentation on the Customer Service Award, which is accredited by the Scottish Qualifications Authority, SQA. This is one of my key responsibilities to support the sales teams, in addition to processing invoices and booking customers onto classroom training. Okay. So that is a good sort of situation. That is the situation. Starts with time, explaining the manager, explains what the presentation's about, explains its key responsibility. Okay. You'll see here they've got brackets FE1V04 K1. So FE1V04 is a unit code, and K1 means knowledge point 1. Okay, so the way that they're signposting the criteria that are covered is using this sort of in-text citation. They're just putting brackets. So rather than having the full text, because that sort of interrupts the flow of what you're writing, they've just said, right, okay, I'm covering that point, brackets, unit code, and the point I'm covering. I'll explain that in more detail. I first of all want to sort of read out what this person's written to let you know the structure, and then we can focus on the signpost and what criteria has been covered a wee bit later. Saying, I received an email from my manager Steve Rogers outlining what I had to do, and they've then got a screenshot of that email. It says, hi Jack, could you produce a presentation on the Customer Service Award? It needs to be delivered to the first cohort of learners on this award, and details 3 bullet points of information which should be included, a bit of detail about the standards, so the design and layout should be simple and easy to follow, and the deadline as well. This person's then written, I had to complete the task by the 5th of April as it was month end. I had to prioritise processing invoices and uploading sales documents to customer relationship management software system, CRM system. This must be completed by the last calendar day of the month so the value can count to the sales team members' individual targets. I looked at my calendar and made an appointment on the 2nd of April to complete this task. Okay, and then they've done the in-text citation again. So S301.1, S301.2 and S301.3. Now, this person's doing the Business Admin Award, so appreciate you might not be doing this particular qualification, but the S301 is all about prioritising your time. It's a managed unit, and it's about prioritising time, and because this is still explaining the task that this person's doing and how they're managing their time, and that's something they did for this, and because they've written about it, this statement is then mapping into that S301 unit. So we're getting an additional unit right there, points covered in it. I estimated, based on prior experience producing presentations, this task would take 4 hours. Completing the task on 2nd of April allows me to prioritise uploading documents before March 31st. I also have 3 days before the deadline as contingency. Then in-text citations for the unit FE1V and FE1V, point 4 and point 10. Okay. That is a customer service unit. So this person's doing a customer service unit as well. And because they are estimating time, prioritising the time, allowing times and contingencies, so that'll definitely be completed as agreed with the customer. So their customer is their manager, because it's an internal customer. Also covering an additional 2 points on another unit. So they're not really on a PowerPoint unit yet, but they've already covered points from S301 and the customer service unit. Uploading the sales documents is more urgent because the deadline's sooner. This paperwork directly affects income of my organisation, therefore it's of a very high importance. While the presentation is important, it's not urgent as the deadline is later than for uploading the sales documents. That's a bit of knowledge there, so you can start to see this person's getting a bit of knowledge, but what is the process for why do I prioritise things? How do I prioritise things? What's the process for prioritising things? This allows me to block off time to focus on key tasks. Doing this also ensures that I can meet Steve's expectations of when he'll receive the presentation and the standard that it will meet. This also ensures that I have enough time to complete other tasks expected of me. And there's a citation, text citation, to signpost what unit's been covered. So SEO1, knowledge point 1 and knowledge point 3. So there's some knowledge, and that's a good example of how knowledge can be embedded or sort of intertwined within a personal statement, which is most about performance. They're saying they're doing it and they're explaining this is sort of why, this is the process, and that shows that they know, that person knows that process for booking off time. So demonstrating their knowledge there. Screenshot of their calendar, and it's got there the appointment that they've put in just for themselves to complete the task. Called Steve on the phone to get more information on the presentation he was looking for me to produce. This allowed me to have a clear understanding of the requirements for this task. I've completed similar presentations for other qualifications. Steve confirmed he would like it to be similar in design and information to those in previous presentations that I have produced. Previous presentations contained an info and an end slide, a slide which had information about the programme summarised from the Modern Apprenticeship training document, a video linked from YouTube about future jobs, followed by new slides with the framework table. And then there's a long list of sort of signposts and the criteria that's been covered there. And those units are customer service units. So most of that there, H9XK is a customer service unit, and they've covered what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's about 8 points there from the customer service unit, and also F9CV. That's the code for the PowerPoint unit. So you see on the last acceptable example, they had the full criteria written out. You don't have to necessarily do it that way. You just need to put the unit code. You can put it in with brackets, and in that way, less attention is put on the criteria, more attention is put on the task that you're doing. I have to be careful about the content in the presentation so I don't infringe on copyright. However, my employer has an agreement with the organisation to deliver this award. I am using the content for educational purposes. It is allowed under fair use. To be safe, I have referenced the sources of the information by adding a caption in my presentation. So that's about that's the PowerPoint unit. It's about how copyright constraints, it's knowledge about how the copyright constraints affect the presentation this person is producing, and the person's able to then say they've covered that point. I made the call within 30 minutes of receiving the email. The call was polite and friendly as I work with Steve regularly and we know each other well. I responded by phone as a conversation, telephone conversation, the best way to understand Steve's needs regarding the presentation, and I followed the phone call up with an email summarising the points discussed during the call. The follow-up email ensures there's a written record to confirm the work required. S308 is a mandatory unit in business administration that's called Communicate in a Business Environment. So they're able to then cover this as an additional unit. So what we're on now, we've done 2 customer service units, 2 mandatory units, and the PowerPoint units. So that's 5 units that this statement has been able to get mapped into thus far. Because it's talking about their communication, following up by phone call, selecting the best method to communicate, following up with an email, which is written communication. Purpose of the email is to confirm what his expectations are in terms of the quality and the standard for the presentation that it had to meet. This is in line with my organisation's procedures for responding to requests for work. I should respond within 24 hours by phone or email to requests for work to confirm expectations. Depending on how detailed the request is and what work is required will determine if I should respond by phone call or email. If the work is routine, I would respond by email. If it's complex, unclear or not routine, I would follow up with a phone call. And then mapping it into their two knowledge points in the customer service unit. So like I said, you might not necessarily be doing these units, but it's to give you an idea of how a holistic statement can be put into different units. So explaining the reason, right, okay, I did that, and this is why I did it, and that covers a knowledge point, and that's how you get knowledge into performance, personal reflective statement. Screenshot of that email, and then at this point now, this person's starting to explain how they actually put it together. So this has probably got a lot of sort of context, a lot of situation, a lot of task, but it's been useful because it's went into all these different units, and that means if you were doing this award and you were doing those units, when you come to do those remaining units, you'll find that there's already a lot of evidence in there already, so it's less for you to do later on. And as you can see from the way it's been put on this page, this is clearly a task that this person's done as part of their job, and it's structured in a way that it follows how that person actually did it. It's not following the order of the criteria. And so if you can imagine a finished portfolio where all the statements have been written like this, you're looking through it and it really is a guide to what that person does as part of their job. It's very clear. If you look at it from the other one, so if I just move this out the way, you're not really seeing, you're seeing that that's the point, you're covering it, but it's more about covering the points, whereas this one's more about that person's job. Okay. On the 2nd of April, I produced the PowerPoint presentation. Firstly, I opened Microsoft PowerPoint by selecting on the Start menu and then selected New, then Blank Presentation. A screenshot of them doing that. A screenshot of them putting in the title slide. Created the title slide Customer Service, had to insert 2 slides that are about the qualification. To do this, I searched Customer Service MA Framework and I then selected on the link to the Skills Development Scotland website and I selected the framework document and uploaded it as a PDF. Screenshot of them doing that. Screenshot of the document that they're summarised information from. I then opened the PDF, selected relevant information from this document, copied and pasted into the new slides, and I created in the presentation. And F9CV, that's a PowerPoint. That's PowerPoint Software 3 unit. So that's 1.1 and 1.4. So the way they did it last time, if we look at this, 1.4 was covered a lot of text just for that and the screenshot. 1.1, again, a lot of text and a screenshot. They're actually writing less here than they did in the acceptable answer, but it's because they went into so much detail about the context, the situation. They're just saying that's what they did. We can rely on a lot of what's already been written, so you don't need loads of additional stuff here. They're just saying what you've done, and if you've done that, well, there we've covered it, and we know it's authentic already. We know it's a task they've done because we've already explained the detail and the background behind the task. So they don't need to have excessive amounts of information here saying that that's what they've done. And with a sentence, they've covered 2 points there. So it's not necessarily about the word count. That's another question I get quite a lot. It's about proving you can do this. But again, if there's not enough written, then it's not sufficient. There's not enough information there for your assessor to make a judgment that you're competent at doing that. So it's not about the word count. That being said, you want to have enough detail there for your assessor to be able to say, yep, that person can do it. And a good way to do it efficiently is to have a lot about the situation, a lot about the task, and go into specific steps that you've done. And in that way, when you're getting to the specific steps, you don't have to write quite as much. Another screenshot of them putting in another slide. Had to insert a video into the presentation as requested in my brief. To do this, I went into youtube.com, searched up Skills Development Scotland's channel, selected on videos and sorted by most popular. I then selected on the most appropriate video. To select this, to insert this into my presentation, I copied the web address. I then went back to the PowerPoint and selected Insert Video, Online Video. I then pasted the web address into the box. A preview of the video then appeared. I selected Insert and I moved and resized the video into the middle of the screen. So that is step-by-step instructions, exactly what they select on, exactly what they clicked, and they've put it in, and they can cite that point that they were able to insert a video. So that criteria is about inserting a video. I made the video as large as possible without covering the slides, so seeing how it's laid out, screenshot of them on YouTube, copying the hyperlink, and a screenshot of them inserting it into the PowerPoint, and a screenshot of the video in. So they don't have to write loads because they've got screenshots showing them doing it. The screenshot on its own says nothing, but having it there within the statement and a statement backing up is excellent evidence. And then I had to insert the course into the course framework, into the presentation, created 2 more slides, put framework on it, unit guide, insert it in the same way. So I'll not read through all of this. I'll have it on the screen, and if you want to pause the video and read through it, that's fine as well. But you can see that they're going through this where they're inserting an image into it. They are changing the layout of it, so they're going to Slide Master and they're changing the fonts, the colours, and that applies it to all the slides. Okay. Also going into review spelling to do a spell check. So that's about formatting, using the correct house style, using the correct style, making sure that you're doing a spell grammar check, checking for accuracy. So you're covering those points there. Save it in the correct place, so it's saved on a shared drive. Shared drive is a collaborative technology, and that is allowing them to map this into a point in the collaborative technology unit, because they're saving it on a shared drive, which allows them to work with other people, so the manager can go into that shared drive and access it and comment on it, and the person that's produced this will be able to see it as well. Okay, so let's explain how they saved it, and they're getting all these additional points too. Then send an email to the manager to say, I have completed this task. The manager sent an email back to say you've missed out the transitions, so they forgot something they should have done. This person's then taken ownership of the mistake that they've made, went into the shared folder added in the transitions, select on the transitions there, screenshot of it, saved it back into shared drive and sent an email to the manager confirming my apologies, taking ownership of it, I've updated it, and it's all been done before the deadline that they were asked of. And the bit of reflection on the end here says, this is a complicated task which I'm asked to complete on a regular basis. When completing this task, it's very important that I manage my time appropriately and I have excellent communication with the internal customer. This ensures that they have confidence in my ability to complete the task to the right standard and to the deadline. Communicating, prioritising and managing my workload allowed me to successfully complete the task by the 5th of April deadline and to a standard agreed with Steve. The presentation is key to communicate information about our programmes, and it's one of my key responsibilities to ensure that these are put together in a consistent way following my organisation's house style and branding. My ability to produce these presentations, however, has allowed this to be achieved. I made a mistake by missing out transitions, however I quickly owned up to my mistake, came up with a solution. Taking ownership of the mistake in this way demonstrates that I can learn from my mistakes. Steve was impressed by this and provided positive feedback to my manager about my performance on the task. So it's a reflection, it's a summary of what the person's done, and they're sort of explaining what they were thinking and why they were doing it. And they were also able to map it into point 6, which is about taking ownership of mistakes. So there's a reflection. So it's the STAR method. Started with time, explained the situation, what they had to do, went in about the task, how they prioritised their time, explained all the communication around it. So they're not just starting from actually making the PowerPoint, they're starting when the task actually started in the workplace. So it's more authentic, it's holistic, and as you can see here, the units this statement's getting mapped into, yes, it's 15 pages, 2,400 words. It's more like when you take out the actual criteria in the comments, it's closer to probably 1900 words of actual statement. And when you compare that to the other one where you're writing maybe 200 words of criteria, it's not that much more that this person's writing for this one, and it falls into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different units and a number of different points there. There's a lot of different points to be covered. So they've covered the whole of that PowerPoint unit and big chunks of 2 customer service units, a mandatory unit on communication and a mandatory unit on managing their time. So this here explains all the individual criteria that's been covered. And that's what we mean by a holistic statement, because it's task oriented. This person used the unit as a guideline, used the PowerPoint. Okay, when did I make a PowerPoint? I did it for this customer service award. They forgot about the unit. They just wrote their statement. What did I do? Okay, and then once they've written it, they've then went back through to signpost what criteria they've covered. It's not about necessarily the criteria. They use it as a guideline. The task is about what they actually done. Once they've done it, they've then reread through their statement that they've written, and they've put in these brackets. So you're looking at the guide, you've got the unit guide there on one side, you've got your statement on the other, and there's no absolute specific ways which you need to signpost. It's really good to signpost where in a statement that you cover a point. The method used to do that is fairly flexible because each portfolio is different, but I would recommend, if you're doing it this way, the easiest way to do it tends to be just put in a wee bracket, unit code and the criteria you're covering, but I'd leave it to the end. I'd wait till you'd actually written the statement and then go through it and put the points in. To make it clear what point you've actually covered, I'd also paste down the bottom the criteria you've covered. So it's sort of the same as the last one, it's the same as this, right? So instead of having it throughout, you're just getting all the criteria, you're putting in at the bottom, and you're going through the text, and you're putting in the wee brackets, and you're saying this unit is F9 CVO4, and you're putting in point 1.1 in the text, and that's probably the best, easiest way to do it. You don't have to do, you're not expected that you're going to be able to sit on your first statement, map it into 6 units. You want to focus on the unit that you've been sort of, your assessor's guided you to focus on, and then when you send it to the assessor, they'll be able to help you and point out additional areas where that statement can map into. Now hopefully this has helped in giving you an idea of the best way to structure a statement, and this is a good reflection of it. So hopefully seeing that example's helped out, and these guidelines have helped, because when you first start on an SVQ and you're writing your statements the first time, it's very different to what you'd have done. It's not like this is completely different in the structure from an essay, because it's what you've actually done. And so hopefully this helps you out a lot. So thanks a lot for for listening to that, and that should save you a lot of time, because the written stuff, that is what's going to take you more time than anything else on a vocational qualifications. You have to sit and write it out. The rest of the stuff you tend to do with an assessor or someone else. This stuff you need to sit down and actually write out. So hopefully this is a good time saver for you, learn how to do that up front.